In this video, we are going to look at moles and chemical equations. Uh, we have here an equation: magnesium plus chlorine gives you magnesium chloride. The law of conservation of masses says whatever you have in the reactants is going to be in the product. So the masses of the reactants equal the masses of the product. So if you want to calculate the mass of the reactant, how much you use of this, then how much you get of this. It's just like, when you're making bread. If you use 1 cup of flour, you'll get one bread. So if you use 2 cups of bread, then you are going to get two bread. So the matter is like more or less, but in chemical equations, you need to calculate the exact amount of atoms or grams or moles which you use to get this substance, the product, because sometimes these chemicals are so expensive, or maybe it's so dangerous to use the wrong amount. So instead of making medicine, maybe you're going to make a poison. If you use wrong masses, then you'll not get the exact number of the product. So here we're going to look at calculating the masses and chemical equations. Here we have a question: what mass of magnesium chloride we get if we react 48 gram of magnesium with the excess of chlorine gas? The first thing here, we're going to write the chemical equation. Here we have magnesium plus chlorine, that gives you magnesium chloride. So if we use 48 gram of magnesium, how much magnesium chloride we are going to get? This is what the question says. So we have two ways to answer this question. The first one is by calculating the number of moles, finding the number of mole. So here we have 1 mole of, if you do not have any number before these molecules or elements, then it means 1 mole. So 1 mole here, and magnesium 1 mole. Chlorine, we're not going to care about it because the question does not state anything about it. So 1 mole of magnesium equals 24 gram. So 1 mole of magnesium chloride, that is going to be 24 plus 2, because here we have 2 chlorine, 2 times the relative atomic mass of chlorine, 35.5. That gives you 95. So if you use 24 gram of magnesium, you get 95 gram of magnesium chloride. So if we use 48, what is 48? How many moles is it? We are going to find the number of mole of this mass. So 48 over the relative atomic mass of magnesium, 24, that gives you 2. So if you have 1 mole, you get 1 mole. If you use 2 moles, how many moles of magnesium chloride you get? 2 moles. So we are going to multiply 2 times 95. That gives you 190 90 gram of magnesium chloride, and this is the final answer. So if we use 48 gram of magnesium, we will get 190 gram of magnesium chloride. This is one way to answer, or simply we can use cross multiplication to answer this one. So in 1 mole, if we use 24, we get how much we calculated before. It is 95 gram of magnesium chloride. And if we use 48, so 48 gram of magnesium, how much magnesium chloride? Here we have question mark. So we're going to use a cross multiplication here. We're going to multiply 95 times 48, then we're going to divide over 24. So 95 times 48 over 24, that gives you 190 gram, just like the answer we got before. We found it in another way. So either we use the number of mole or cross multiplication, we'll find the same answer. So if we use 24 gram of magnesium, we get 95. If we use 48 gram of magnesium, we get 190 gram of magnesium. Here we're going to look at another example. It says, what mass of sulfur dioxide would be produced if 128 gram of sulfur was completely reacted with oxygen gas? So we are going to write the chemical equation. And how do we write it? Here we have would be produced. So this is the product, sulfur dioxide, the product, and the reactant if sulfur react with oxygen. So we're going to say sulfur plus oxygen, that gives you sulfur dioxide. So we are going to find the answer in two ways. First, we're going to use the number of mole. So if we here we have 1 mole and here we have 1 mole. The oxygen, we will not care about it. But if the question tells you how much sulfur dioxide we get if we react whatever mass of oxygen, then you're going to care about oxygen and do not care about sulfur. So here 1 mole of sulfur, and here you get 1 mole of sulfur dioxide because you don't have here any number. So let's the sulfur, the mass of sulfur is 32, and the mass of sulfur dioxide here is 32 plus oxygen, we have 2, times the relative atomic mass of oxygen 16, that is going to be 64. So here you get 64. Now let's find the number of mole of 128 gram of sulfur. 128 over the relative atomic mass of sulfur, which is 32, that gives you 4. So now we have 4 moles of sulfur. We are going to get 4 moles of sulfur dioxide. So that's going to be 4 times 64 will give us 256 gram, and this is the final answer. If we use 128 gram of sulfur, we will get 256 gram of sulfur dioxide. We're going to find the answer in cross multiplication. So sulfur, the relative atomic mass, 1 mole of sulfur equals 32, and 1 mole of sulfur dioxide, as we calculated it before, it is 64. So 1 mole of sulfur gives you 1 mole of sulfur dioxide. But if you use 128 gram of sulfur, how much sulfur dioxide you get? How we're going to use cross multiplication. We're going to multiply this 64 times 128, then we are going to divide over 32. So 64 times 128 over 32, that gives you 256 gram, the same answer here we got, but in another way. So this is how to calculate chemical equations. You have a chemical equation, then you are given the mass of the reactant, one of the reactant or any of the reactant, then you are asked to find the mass of the product. You can use the number of mole or you can use cross multiplication to get the answer. And that is it for this video. Until next time, ciao.